myself once or twice. Once confirmed live, we'll be going on from there. But I do hope that you're having a good day today. I personally am. It's been a hectic week. Been one of those weeks, you know how that goes. But beyond that, just making sure that, living the dream and all that good stuff. Though, I have now confirmed we are live, so that. Of course, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I want to have 3 shows a week, and right now I'm going to be talking to Orville, Discovery, and then the Geek Breakdown. But if a lot of people don't like doing StarTrek Orville, we can do something else. Got Aragmar, Marillion, Krill, what's going on with you, good sir? Mr. Vlog Watcher, always in the house. For those who don't know, you can get Orville on Hulu or watch it on cable. I don't have cable. My mic's gone? Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? 1 second. I can hear myself. 1 quick second. Guess it went down. Hold on. Is that better? Yes, we're going to have a slight delay. Let me know how it goes. Of course, it would be going down. Why would it not? I got to get this piece replaced. Hold on. Now we play the waiting game. And of course, it works after that. Yep, looks like it's better. Though I've lost everybody. What's going on with that? Is the mic back? Alright, cool. So, we're going to be talking about the Krill. StarTrek Orville. Though again, this may go into something else. It really depends on what you guys want to talk about. But, I cannot watch it when it loads on Thursday because apparently people who have cable get to watch it and then you can watch it a day later. And I can't do Friday shows, so we will be doing Orville on Mondays. And yes, I actually like the last Orville as well. Nothing, there you are. Oh man, I love how my voice is going in and out. Alright, we'll keep going with this, see how it goes. If I continue to have issues, then I guess we won't be doing it. Man, I sound really low. Hold on 1 quick second, guys. Testing, 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 testing. One quick second. Now I'm sitting here listening to myself. Okay, so let me refresh it. Now you can't hear me at all. Come on. See, what's happening is I'm waiting for myself to talk. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'll baritone. Sound like Barry White. Let's get it on. I really liked the most recent one. And here's the interesting thing I like about Orville versus StarTrek Discovery, is that I think that a lot of things you see in Star Trek Discovery, a lot of the quote-unquote agenda, a lot of the quote-unquote progressive leaning, the left leaning, is there in Orville, but they do it in a much, I wouldn't say subtle, but it's in a much more enjoyable way. It's in a very telling story. I like how they put it together. So let's take a look at it. It starts out, for those, by the way, there's going to be extreme spoilers here because we're just going to sit down and break it down together. But for those who haven't seen it, you may not want to watch. For those who have, what essentially happens is it starts out with the captain, well, not the captain, but with the Orville in a fight with one of the Krill ships. And what I love about this scene is it really proves how the captain, how Mercer should really be there. Because I think he does an excellent, excellent job of fighting the Krill on a ship that's not designed to fight Krill, right? It's like a medium science vessel. And he does it in what I think is a really realistic way. So it's kind of cool. It also proves the point of his ex-wife who put him there for all intents and purposes. And you know, again, it just puts it together really, really well. And so ultimately he does some fancy maneuvers. They defeat the Krill ship on a ship that isn't designed to defeat a Krill ship. And there's a shuttle pod that's left behind. When I first saw this, thought it was a trap. Because, I mean, this is all... It has trap written all over it, right? But let me ask you this. So what is it? It's not the United whatever of Planets. It's not United Federation of Planets, but the United Planetarian of Planets, the UFP knockoff, sends Mercer and his pilot on a mission to the Krill. And so this is obviously a comedy. It's a dramedy. It's just there to be enjoyed. But I like breaking stuff down because that's what I do. I somewhat understand why they would send the pilot to go, but it also doesn't make any sense because even the pilot admits that he's an idiot. So I don't... How'd you guys feel about it? Because it broke the suspension a little bit in that I don't think that they'd send him. Planetary Union, that's right. Ragmar says it was awesome how he used the ionosphere of that planet to F up their sensors. Yeah, that was cool. Again, Mercer deserves to be in the captain's chair, and it's realistic that after seeing his wife cheat on him that he would just spiral down. So it's really a cool redemption story for both of them because she gets him in the captain's chair, and he proves that it's not just this idiot ex-husband who got there because his ex-wife pulled some strings, but that's where he deserved to be. And I think that that's awesome. It's a redemption story for both of them, which I thought was really cool. But going back, and the pilot, I forget the pilot's name. I'm always horrible with names. What do you guys think when it comes to that? What are your thoughts? Did the pilot really have a reason to be there, or was that just plot convenience? The quote-unquote plot shield, as people like to call it. And I'm definitely not doing anything in the background right now, which is why there is some pause on my side, so you guys don't have to worry about that in the slightest. And of course, now we wait for the delay. So, while we're waiting for the delay and for you guys to give me that answer, they continue to move on. They get on this ship. They go to get the Bible. Now, here's an interesting point to that as well. The Admiral brings up a point that the more a civilization becomes spacefaring, the less religious and the less religions they believe in. And I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very Seth. Seth has a way of not being kind to religion, regardless of what you believe. It's not about whether you believe in a god or don't. I think Seth often will not be kind to religions and will be unfair in some instances. And do you guys think the more technological civilization becomes, the less likely it's to be religious? Now, I know that that's what's happening on Earth, as it seems now. The more we advance, the less we as a species believe in God. And that's not to say that a God exists or a God doesn't exist. It's just to say that's what's happening, right? And do you think it would go that way? So Aragmar says, he says, the pilot had to be, since the Admiral said he was the best pilot, and that's an alien ship they don't know much of. Yeah, so going back to the pilot getting there, that's the only thing that really is a saving grace for me. If he is the best pilot, then he's the one you want doing it, especially if you're having to get away from them, if you're caught or you want to warn the Planetary Union. Then, I think that it does make sense that you have him. But also, again, he's an idiot. So that's what you have to go with on that. It didn't break it, but it was kind of just weird, I guess. I don't know. But going back to the religious piece, I think that for planet Earth, the way our civilizations are going, you see that the more advanced countries, the more first world countries, the more countries that have luxuries and are becoming technologically evolved, you're seeing religion fall. And in third world countries, or in countries where people are poorer, you're seeing it rise. You can even see that in the United States. Poorer states will often be more religious than richer states. And again, this isn't about whether it's right or wrong. It's about, is that just the way it is? And I guess it kind of makes sense. The more that we the more we move into a technological age, the less the world it becomes a mystery to us, and the more we think that no God actually exists. Aragmar says, read some quantum physics. They sound very much like a religious philosophy. Mason Herman, what's going on in the house? Rocking it out. Alright, so, continuing on. I like how the banter between them when they're in the shuttle, because it's just comedic, and it's just, these characters have depth and they have consistency. That's one of the things I like over Discovery versus Orville. Discovery has some consistency with the characters, but Orville just has it in spades. Mercer was acting the way I expected Mercer to act, and the pilot, and let me look up his name. My God. You'd think that I'd know this. I do this for a living, right? So why wouldn't I instantly know these names? Let's see. Where is he? Gordon Malloy. That's right. So Malloy is pretty laid back, listening to music. Mercer's trying to read, and Malloy wants the cliff notes. I thought that was just fantastic when it comes to, and very specific to Malloy and the way he works. And then they get on the ships. Aragmar says yes, and they have effing souls. We'll get there, Aragmar. Man, you're like anti-trekker. You want to jump straight ahead. So they get on the ship, and I think it's really interesting how they can portray species that have hats but still seem realistic. So one thing, Anti-Trekker, I was talking to him earlier today, and he said something that I thought was really astute when it came to this. He said that it's basically the next generation modernized. I think has a lot of weight to it. I think it's true, to be honest with you. I think it is the next generation modernized. And when they get on the ship, the Krill obviously have a hat. They're obviously a religious, fanatic order of warriors, but they still have depth to them. Like, the individual characters have depth to them, which I thought was awesome. I also love the names that they came up with, especially since they were talking about it. I mean, obviously, what I was hoping they would do is, as soon as they got on and said, "Hey, you need to talk to our captain," they would have said something like, what's your captain's name? Or what are your names? Or something like that. At least try to figure out what the naming conventions kind of sound like so that you can give it. Of course, he doesn't. He just gives, random generic English names, which ultimately I think is quite awesome and funny. And the fact that the Krill seem somewhat, for religious bigots, they're pretty understanding of names, I thought. So, they get on the ship, they go to the captain, they talk about the religious order, trying to find out more information. Obviously, this has a very interesting feel. Anti-Trekker coming up in the house. What's going on, Anti-Trekker? He says, you are off base with tech equal understanding, the universe equal less mystery equal less religion. I think it is that tech equal comfort, and more comfort means less need for God. We feel like we do not need his help. I mean, yeah, that's possible too. But without getting too religious, I think a lot of the conversation that happens, though, is that people will say the more we learn about the universe, the less mysterious, and it's kind of like the and again, we're not going to get into the religious conversation, but a lot of the arguments would be the watchmaker argument, which is if you walked into a on a desert and you found a watch, and you were an ancient civilization, or you were a culture that wasn't civilized, you might think it was made by a god. Whereas if you lived in an industrial city and you found a watch, you knew exactly what it was. You knew the science behind it. Therefore, it's not mysterious. Therefore, a god didn't make it. Not getting into it, just saying that is somewhat of the argument. I think comfort is a huge piece to it too. Again, first world countries versus third world countries and belief systems. And I don't think that, I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think it's relevant to whether one actually exists or not. But yeah, Chris and Devin is their names. And I love how the Krill look at it and they're just, he's like, those are weird names, but whatever. And so the Krill ship is obviously set up with a military order, and then they have a religious person there. It almost somewhat reminded me of a lighthearted, oh man, what was it? They have the Imperium of Man, a lighthearted, I'll think of it in a second. Warhammer, like Warhammer 50K, because they have things like that where you have a religious order that goes around with the military and oversees things. So yeah, it was just pretty funny. Now, one of the I think awesome pieces, let me find it, when they're in so they have their church or their whatever, their religious thing that they're going to do. Now, an interesting piece is, it seems like everybody, Warhammer 40K, yeah, it seems like they left the bridge and everybody just went to have this religious service, which seems like a very stupid thing to do. I would assume that they still have people watching the bridge so that just in case they got an attack or anything like that. But anyway, I thought it was hilarious. And again, Anti-Trekker kind of brought up what was going on in that it didn't even come to, which again, I think Seth is being unfair to religious people somewhat, but so they take a human head and they just begin slaughtering it in front of the Orville crew, and they're just horrified. And it makes me a bad person, but I thought that was hilarious for some reason. It was just so morbidly funny to me. Michael Spence says, I was annoyed with the name issue, but the show is a comedy, not a drama, and plot consistency comes second. I was annoyed with the name issue. You're talking about Devin? I didn't really have an issue with their names and with them not being annoyed by the names. I was also annoyed they didn't just grab the book and run, but it served the plot. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second. I'll tell you one thing that annoyed me. The consistent jokes about Avis. I get it. I get that I get it, and that they're talking about Hertz and things, but it broke the fourth wall a little bit, because seriously, let's say that we had advanced into a space civilization and that the entire world became Christian, and that on every ship we had services, and we always talked about Jesus and did sacrifices and things when it came to Jesus. And then all of a sudden these people, and let's say that on another planet of an enemy homeworld, Jesus was the name of, I don't know, a car rental. Do it the same way. And another human came on board, came from a ship that had been destroyed, and said, we got away, yada yada, and continued to make jokes about Jesus. and how Jesus had gold service and, you know, all of this. It kind of broke it, and I think the Krill should have noticed that, in my opinion. So that annoyed me. But overall, the service was just funny, how they were just hacking away at this human in front of them. And that's just the more morbid part of me that found that very funny. Interestingly enough, I do think that after that, they somewhat humanize them. Oh, Anti-Tracker brought up a good point. So let me put this out to you guys. So again, we were talking about the religious aspect, and Anti-Tracker says, you know, this is, he didn't say mocking, but that's what I would consider, if it's true, that it was mocking Christianity, because, you know, Christians will drink the blood of Christ, especially Catholics, will drink the blood of Christ and eat his body, and that's through sacraments, that's through wine and things like that. And if you're Catholic, you truly believe that it's transferred, and you literally are eating and drinking. And he said that was kind of making a mockery of that. He didn't use the word mockery, that's just me inputting that. He said that that was kind of mocking that. I'd be curious what you guys think if that's what Seth was doing. And if that's what Seth was doing, I don't really think that it was in your face enough. But here's one of the things I like about Orville that I don't about Discovery. I'm not so hung up on the agenda of Orville. I'm not so hung up on what Seth thinks in the real world. And I'm not so hung up on how blatant it's being that I honestly didn't notice that. But I think it's a good conversation piece. So I'll leave that for you guys to give me your thoughts on if you thought it was good, if you didn't. But going back to it, after that, Seth is famously anti-Christian, says Michael Spence. He is famously anti-Christian. And that's what I'm saying. He definitively, he's unfair. And this isn't, again, because I'm going to get comments. It doesn't matter what I believe or what anyone really believes. Whether you're a Christian or an atheist, we can talk on whether it's fair or unfair, right? And I think if you've come from a Christian background, you know it's not that gory. And I think most atheists, in my opinion, don't even look at it like that. I think it may be phrased like that. So, I mean, there's that thought, putting it out there. So, after service, so they do this horrific thing, and then and you know, they're just freaking out, and somehow, you know, Malloy can then still make fun that Avis is a car rental service, and they're leaving, and you meet the female Krill, and I really liked that they, for lack of a better word, well, no, I'll put it this way, they gave her depth. She was more than just this hat, you know. She wanted to talk to him. She had a brother who died on the ship. You know, there were things that she cared about that you could get through. It really felt like she was, you know, I'm going to use the word human, but real would be a better word. I think real was a better way of putting it. And I you know, again, I just love the fact that the Krill are actual people, not someone just to hate. And I don't want to make this the Orville versus Discovery thing, even though I did the Star Trek as a joke. I don't want to make it about that, but the Klingons don't feel real yet, you know? They just don't feel real to me. Angry Mr. Flibble says severed heads is more of an ISIS thing. Yeah, I mean, so Christianity is my background. That's what I grew up believing. So that's, when I think religion, I think Christianity, and I live in the United States, which, at least when I grew up, was majority Christian. I think it still is, I believe. But, so that's where I go. So yeah, I mean, it could be trying to mock, I don't like using the word mock, but it could be trying to make allusions to Islam, you know, but again, anti-faith is definitive. So we have the Krill. They did all this horrific stuff. Then we speak to the sister, and then the bombshell. Orville, for me, too much comedy can kill the drama. That's true. Then they have the bombshell, and you go, yeah, there's the head. That's just awesome. So the bombshell is that they have kids on board. And where are the kids? Let me see. I thought they brought them up beforehand. So Krill enemy ships have kids. And I think that's interesting, and I think it's I'm trying to think if it reminds me of any kind of Star Trek or any other race, because it's not the first time that they've done that, but it was something that really surprised me, and something that I thought was an interesting dynamic to add to it. Because let me ask you this, and we'll bring it back up, but let me ask you this. Now that the Planetary Union knows that the Krill carries children on their ships, when they get into a fight, are they going to move to destroy those Krill ships, knowing that they're killing innocent children? Mr. Vlog Watcher coming up. Okay, being a bit too literal here, though, because the Krill had a severed head in their chapel. I don't think it's trying to point to any one faith, but the extremist faithful? That's possible. That's definitively possible. Let's see. No, you don't see the kids until you see the bomb. I stand corrected. So let's talk about the kids first, though. So the kids themselves add a dynamic to it. And so now that if they're in a fight, if the Orville ever takes on another ship, if they destroy it, they know they're killing kids. So is that going to make it so that they don't want to kill the kids? I don't know how I feel about that. Honestly, the Krill generally always fire first, right? The Planetary Union generally fights defensively. Again, they're a faux federation. So if you start a fight, I can't help that you're starting a fight with kids on it. I have to defend my crew. But I think that if they have the ability to get away, we're going to see them run a lot faster. What's going to suck is if this doesn't impact future continuity. It's going to hurt it for me. Aragmar saying, I'm not sure, this might be a special training ship. There's no way to know that. At this point, we have to assume, well, first off, they have this specialized weapon, so I doubt that it's a training ship. And we have no way to know if it's a training ship or not. We have to assume that this is how they bring their young, how a warrior race would take care of it. So I don't know. You guys think about that. Let me know. I love the book. So you see the book right here, and they have to copy all of these, and they're doing it individually, which obviously is a funny joke because that's a huge book. It's single typed on both sides. And one of the questions is, why don't they steal the book? The reason they don't steal the book is because they want to do this without getting noticed. They don't want to provoke the Krill. Obviously, all that goes to hell, but they initially don't want to provoke the Krill. So they want to take scanning images of it and then take it home, and then the Krill won't know. And they can then they can study it, see what they can do. Stealing a Bible, the quote-unquote Krill Bible, could start a war, in my opinion. Because that could be considered a holy item. So, for instance, take a Christian Bible or any holy book in any faith, and say that you're with a species who you think is a heresy to your religion, and they steal your book, and they steal your holy book. These demons, these soulless beasts, stole a holy item. So I can see why they wouldn't want to do that. And Aragmar says they can scan the ship for the kids. I guess that makes sense. Luke Jackson, Orville offers us more realism, even as a sci-fi show. It makes more sense than a lot of other sci-fi shows. I think it allows us to... Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that it allows us to have the discussion or the conversation. In my simple opinion. But yeah, so they're scanning it, and this happened beforehand, but then they find the bomb to end all bombs, and they realize that they're going to use it to kill a planet that can't defend itself, which is an interesting... Well, I don't know that I want to say interesting. It's it's very curious that they're doing that, right? They now this is coming from the Bible, I know, because there's allusions in the Bible about how the only thing that has souls are humans, and of course, and I mean other faiths may have this too. I don't know, but in the Bible, animals don't have souls, so killing an animal isn't like killing a human. And so the Krill believe that killing a human isn't like killing a Krill, it's a soul. It's the same thing as if it was a cow or a dog or a cat, right? Which, recently I've had some issues with that. I don't see how anyone can kill any living thing without taking it very, very seriously. But I could see when you prioritize things, how you wouldn't prioritize it so much. Luke Jackson says the Krill got some cute kids to be so barbaric. True that. If I was to have an infestation of bugs at my house, I would, without hesitation, completely genocide that infestation. And that's what the Krill are looking at. That's what they're thinking about. And that's why they want to kill it like this, because they don't think they're really killing anything of value. And obviously, we as humans know that we have value. So, if a cow was to beg for its life, how would it go about doing it? I mean, we slaughter cows, and sometimes in barbaric ways, and we don't really care about it. When you go to the Taco Bell or when you go to McDonald's, you're not really caring about the cow's soul. So now you have a species that look at us as we look like cows. Even worse than that, they look at us like a bug infestation, something that needs to be removed. And not only that, they believe their God is telling them that they need to do this. Now, for those who have seen it, we know what happens. Michael Spence says there's a verse in the Bible that talk about the souls of animals. I can post a link if you like. I'm not going to get into a biblical argument with you. I can tell you that historically it has always been my understanding of the Bible that animals don't have souls. If you believe animals have souls and that the Bible proves it, that's great. We can agree to disagree on that. And I'm not trying to deter what you're saying. I'm not trying to say what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying that I'm not going to have a religious argument about it. Argo says, just for your information, biblically we are souls. It's not something within us. It's a belief in Christendom in general, but not biblically. Mr. Vlogwatcher says, well, the Krill, if I remember the episode correctly, has cloud cover that blocks 96% of their sun's light, right? This is a very strange difference to anything we can truly understand. Michael Spence doesn't believe in souls. I mean, that's fine. I'm not getting into I don't know what you believe, Michael Spence, and it's whatever you believe is cool with me. It's just not intricate to this episode. It was what I'm saying. So, man, you guys like to get me off topic, don't you? So, they have an option, and so they need to stop them, obviously, because they're going to kill hundreds of thousands of people. They can't alert the Planetary Union in time. And here's where I thought they were going to go with it, and I thought this would have been more interesting. So they know that they don't think humans have souls. And they know that they treat humans like we treat cattle. So instead of killing all of the Krill, I honestly thought that they were going to go to the captain when the religious guy isn't there and show them that they're human and try to have a conversation with him. Michael Spence says, I just meant I wasn't trying to start a religious discussion, that's all. By the way, guys, if I come off too harsh or anything, whether it's in text or just talking to you, I'm used to being, I guess, having a quote-unquote alpha personality. Some of my friends have called me a psychopath, which is kind of disturbing to me. So I'm not mad or angry or anything with you guys. I'm just trying to have a conversation. So if I come off wrong, I don't mean to. It's very rare that you're going to get me angry with you. And if I'm angry with you, you'll know it. So, but I'm not going to get angry with you because we're all just geeks and nerds and things. But anyway, I thought they were going to go to the Krill captain and try to actually have a conversation. I think that would have been a better storyline than what they went with. And they still could have done the leg thing. Maybe they're sitting here talking to the captain. The religious guy comes in. They're getting through to the captain, but the religious guy quotes something from his text of Evis about how gold member status can't, talk to anything unclean. And then they still do like the leg thing and just jam him in the leg, and he does his quip about how that's a new leg, even though technically that didn't happen. Last episode, they hit the great reset button, so that prank may not have happened. Argo Tungsten says, we are talking to a psycho. Yeah, man, any person who's successful as an entertainer, isn't all there. But so they didn't do that, but I thought that would have been cool if they reached out to the captain. They were getting through to the captain. Ultimately, that fails because you can't. If from birth until they die, they're told one thing and they believe one thing, you can't get through to somebody in just one conversation. But ultimately that fails, and they have to do something to stop them. But it could have been the starting of, maybe the captain survives, or the kids are there and the kids see the conversation and they survive, and that starts the arc of redemption for the Krill. But they didn't. What they decided to do is they're going to kill the Krill, and they find out that the Krill, of course, are sensitive to sun. Mr. Vlog Watcher says, the prank, no, he specifically said this is a new leg. What's going on, Pete 8680? So allow me to sidetrack on this, and we'll go to last episode just for a minute. Okay, so the prank happened last episode where he lost his leg, according to the robot, right? Argo, I knew you were joking, man. I was joking back with you. You guys take me too seriously. I knew you were joking about me being a psycho. So y'all like to sidetrack me. Going back to the episode beforehand, so he does the prank, he loses the leg. Now, the woman that they save, remember, they destroy the anomaly or phenomenon, whatever it was, so they never meet the woman, and those events never occur. So he never loses his leg. See? That never occurred. Continuity issue. Yeah, that's why I do this for a living. I actually make money from it. That's the scary part. So, technically, that never occurred. But maybe he still would have happened even if all of those events didn't occur. So, I don't care about it, honestly. So, they go and they want to kill all the Krill, and they're vampire hunters. Those jokes fell flat for me. It was just like, oh, I get it, because, whatever. And so they realize their kid's on board. And I'll say this. The interaction with the kids and the teacher, those jokes landed. Those jokes landed really well for me. He's like, when they were talking about the Book of Avis or whatever, he's got a tramp stamp for it, or whatever that joke was. I thought it was awesome. One thing I liked, too, that was subtle, was that he was getting through to one of the kids. He was talking to the kids and telling them about Earth and things of that nature. And he was getting through to the kids, I think. And I wanted to see more of that. I wish we could have seen the kids reaching out, even after the killing of the crew in some small way. Spamaster G says, I certainly wouldn't approach the captain after witnessing a severed human head getting stabbed repeatedly. I doubt anybody else would either. The plot they had was more believable. Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that. I would probably be less likely to approach someone who who took a head and just stabbed it to death. So, okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, they make this joke because the pilot really watches old Earth TV shows. Yeah, no, I get why the joke was there, but it just fell flat for me. The confrontation, I think, did a good job in building the suspense. Building the suspense. This is why I script everything. Building the suspense for them, they really made it seem like they were going to fail at their mission. And the thing I like about Orville, that I don't necessarily like about Discovery right now is I think Orville would be brave enough to have them fail. I think Discovery wouldn't be brave enough to not... Discovery hasn't shown to be brave enough to do something that wouldn't be expected. You know? So I there was suspense there because I did believe that they had a chance of failing. Ultimately, they kill the captain. They kill everybody except for the children, and save the day, quote unquote. The now don't be mad thing kind of fell short. You know, I get why they did that, but still, as you know, you just slaughtered the entire crew, and it's going to start off with, now don't be mad. The ending was probably my favorite part. Here's what I hate, and it happens a lot in Trek. In any Trek. Choose your Trek. Here's what I like about the ending. So Mercer comes in, and you have the woman, the female Krill, and she says, how can you face me? You've killed all the crew. Usually, in Trek and in almost all sci-fi, the good guy just takes it, right? They just completely and utterly just take it. It's like, yeah, how am I going to live with myself? But he comes back and says what every fan ever says in this situation. You were going to kill hundreds of thousands of people. What did you expect me to do? The good guys always need to come back. They always need to come back with that. I mean, it's not like they went out of their way like the bad guys. So I like that she put it in his face and said, you were going to kill more people. You forced my hand to kill you. You had no issue with killing hundreds of thousands of people. I killed 20 to save hundreds of thousands. Or how many ever. And then he says, she's like, what are you going to do with the kids? Well, we're going to return the kids. Because they're not my enemy. And she says, well, they will be now. Argo Tungsten says, the funny thing, I was more of a fan of Orville than Discovery, but after time, I prefer Discovery more now, much to my surprise. Well, I mean, Argo, people have brain damage, brother, so just get help. The idea of blowback from the destruction of the Krill ship was very true to life, a great ending, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Yeah, she's not wrong about the kids, but I wish... Here's the thing about Orville. It made me want to actually talk to the kids. It makes me want to tell them, we had to do what we had to do in the defense of our own people. But the kids are going to hate them. Give me a second, guys. Mr. Pete 8680 agrees that he likes Discovery more than Orville. His moderator status has been removed, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And Aragmar says, LOL, well said from one person with brain damage to another. Here's my... I really care what those kids think. And the funny thing is they're not real. But the way that they did it and the way that they phrase it... And let me just say this about Seth. I don't know about Seth's producing ability. Because I've heard the movie that he did wasn't really good. I haven't seen it, but like Ralph the Movie Maker, love Ralph Seppi, said it wasn't really good. A lot of people said it wasn't really good. He is just a great actor. Can I just say, I really felt his pain or his confusion, not confusion, but his pain or his the issues he was having at the end of that episode. And I really And I felt that way when in the last episode too, when they did the reverse. Like he just got over his ex-wife, and he's staring at the woman, and you can just see that he's going to go back to the way he was and how much pain he's in. Seth is a wonderful actor. He may have other flaws. He may go out of his way to attack religion, but my God, can the man act. And so I think the episode was a good show. I think when it's put up against Discovery, I think, here's my thing. I'm going to be doing a video on this. I don't think it's fair anymore to compare Orville to Discovery, because they are two different shows. One is a dramedy, a comedy, a lighthearted adventure with basically villains of the week and continuity that is, flexible, we'll say. The other is meant to be a serious drama and an exploration of a person and a war, a days of our lives in space. And it's not fair to compare them in that instance. They both provide different things. Now, I'll say this. Orville does messages a lot better. What's going on? Method 12321. Orville does messages like, how far is too far, religion in space, things of that nature. Sex change. I think they ask the questions and make you think deeper, but Discovery doesn't do a bad job in providing days of our lives in space in that aspect. Mr. Vlog Watcher says something about multiple universes rather than simple backwards forwards of time. I'm not sure, it's beyond my knowledge. Not sure what he's responding to, so I guess that doesn't help out. Let's see. Luke Jackson, I have a feeling this isn't over yet. This female Krill will be back, and next time she may be in love with Captain Mercer. That would be a change. I'd like to have her back too. I think that'd be interesting. I would like to see her. I would actually like to see her come back and be turned around to thinking the humans actually might have souls. Humans killed. So this captain killed her brother. Even if it's self-defense, killed her brother, so I can understand her being angry with him. For all of her life, she's been taught that humans don't have souls, and now she's confronted with with speaking to these people who care, who have souls, who is everything that she didn't think they were. Argo says the one thing I like about Orville, it didn't man bash with who was the guilty party and the whole infidelity thing. Yeah, here's something I like about Orville, and here's something I think you can compare directly with Discovery. I think Orville is more female positive and man neutral, whereas Discovery has some instances where it's female positive and man negative. Not that all of Discovery is that way, but I think there are some legitimate complaints that people have where they put males in a negative light, which I think is completely fair. And I think that Orville has kept men at worst neutral and made women positive. And that's why I think people like Orville more than Discovery when you take away the paywall. Because I think that men don't get as upset, even though you have similar themes and similar messages in Orville that you do in Discovery. Mr. Seth says about the quantum effects of destroying the wormhole. Sounds like hyper time. I'm not going to get into hyper time. True, so far Orville hasn't put a female in a cat suit. Maybe they'll put a man in a cat suit. I could see them doing that. Could you not see them having like Malloy in this tight-fitting cat suit that basically shows everything? Michael Spence says, didn't want to bring up the male-female stuff. Since you did, I completely agree with you. So here's my thing when it comes to politics, it comes to religion. As long as it's a part of the lore and we're discussing it. Oh, I hit something, didn't I? Hold on. Yeah, fantastic. 1 second. And see. Fixing it right now. And so I'm going to continue to talk like I'm actually saying something because there is a delay and I got to see if the mic is actually fixed. And come on, hurry up. Did it fix? Did it fix? No, you can't hear me at all now. All right, you guys should be able to hear me. Let me know. So, where was I going? Star Trek is for people with poor concentration, says Jorge Rodriguez. Okay. So, you guys should be hearing me. Let me know if there's any issues with the mic. Seth, to me, is more like a classic liberal who is incredibly talented. He is open-minded and fair. He also has a hell of an imagination, says Luke Jackson. Completely disagree that he is open-minded on some instances. I would agree that he's a classical liberal, and he does have a hell of an imagination. I don't find him too open-minded on some things. Most things, maybe. I tell you what, since we're here, let's talk about another episode I really liked, and then I think I'm going to get off with you. I'm going to get off. I'm going to stop live streaming. Man. I don't have enemies yet, but I imagine I will the bigger I get, so that's going to be a clip that'll come up and haunt me, I'm sure. So, let's talk about the baby sex change. Shan't we? I really like how they did that episode, because I think that episode brings up a lot of great conversations. So obviously the first instinct everyone has when it comes to should you do a sex change is that no, obviously you shouldn't do a sex change. That's absolutely just a horrific thing. And I think most people still fell on the side of that. But it felt like Orville was trying to present a fair argument. And that's kind of crazy. So, they said, well, this is our culture. This is what our culture does. And you want to be culturally sensitive, don't you? And, and the Mercer and the XO, I forget her name, are having a conversation. And, he's like, should we be telling this culture what to do? And she gave the perfect response to it. That she said, well, if they wanted to kill every female baby, and that was their culture to do, would we let them do that? Perfect counter, I think. Just absolutely perfect. And so then they move on, and they have the court. And in this court, I have to say that the advocate for having the sex change, I don't agree that they should do the sex change. But I think he countered the XO on almost everyone. I think her arguments were absolutely weak. One of the things she does is she brings up, what's her name? The security officer, who is obviously stronger than most of the race, and she just absolutely shows off. And, the advocate says, okay, sure, she's stronger than our race. Fantastic. Everybody knew that. Let's bring up a male of her species and sees what happens. And then, a planet like Marklon should never have been let into the planetary union. I think that was a little unfair towards men, saying that if only men did it, that everything, there would be just horrific destruction and things. I think that was a little unfair. But, I get what they were saying with that, with not only testosterone. Then they brought up the pilot, and it's like, look, this is a man and he's an idiot. Of course, the counter is there's going to be idiots regardless. There's idiot females. So I don't think she did a good defense in defending. But then the twist, when they find the female Marklon, and how did their sensors pick it up, but no other? You're telling me that the Marklons don't have the same tech that the Planetary Union has? They don't share that? I think they would have found. I think they would have found her. I love how she comes back and she says. I think when she comes back and she says, I'm one of the best writers, and we all find our way. I think that was a great counter to everything he said. But really, it's a tough... So if you let this baby be female, she is going to live a life of extreme isolation. She's going to be mocked. She's going to be hated. And I don't know. I obviously think it's wrong, guys. So don't take this as me saying, he was right. But it's a good conversation, Argo says Nazi culture believed in extermination. Some cultures are horrible, even though it's a culture. I know it's an extreme comparison, but still. I agree. I think it's a horrific... I think that doing the sex change is horrific. As a baby. Yep, there's another clip. I think doing the sex change as a baby is horrific. That not letting them choose. But I think they had a good argument. I don't want to say good argument. I think that it was... I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's cut and dry. I think Michael Spence, they did a great job presenting the question. Absolutely. They did a good job. Should we change someone at birth? And if we shouldn't, are we prepared to put that person through those circumstances? And it reminded me, so back, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, there was a question that I remember being asked among religious circles that was intriguing. And it was, if you could genetically stop cancer in someone, would you? Yes. If you could stop autism, if you could stop dyslexia, would you? Yes. If you could stop someone from being homosexual, would you? And this was, again, 9 or 10 years ago, less accepted than it is now. And that always started an interesting conversation. Mr. Vlogwatcher, there's one thing they never touched on that seems either deliberate oversight or maybe just accidental. She'd be ostracized by Moklan society, maybe, but could have lived in the Union. So I just think they didn't touch on it. Because the argument to that is that it's still ostracized. She's shunned by her people. She can't live with her people. And I think there's pain in that too. If you just ask any person, ask any atheist who has a religious family that now can't see them, or ask any Christian who was in a really strict atheist house, Never would she be accepted by any member of her race. Yeah. And it's a great question. That's what I love about Orville. Orville makes me think. It makes me have conversations with you guys. Discovery doesn't. I don't really care about the alien that had pain in Discovery. Never cared about it. Didn't make me think about animal rights at all. But this had a great conversation piece. And I think that's where it's at. I think that's a great piece to it. Beyond that, I don't really have much more to talk about. About everybody on planet Earth disagreed with my opinion of what would happen between a Dominion Federation war. I honestly was not surprised by that. Not Dominion Federation war, I'm sorry, a Dominion Borg war. Again, not really surprised in the slightest. But that was that. So we can talk about that, or if you guys have anything else when it comes to Orville, let me know. Why do I got only all of a sudden I only got 7 people? What? Anyway, what do you guys have anything else we want to chat on? Want to go forward with? Luke Jackson, it would have been so cute to see her as a daddy girl walking through that she following dad. Oh, a funny play. It was hilarious with the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, where he gets the wrong message, but he gets the right message, but he gets the wrong idea. He's like, so instead of killing, so it was good they didn't kill Rudolph at the beginning and didn't slaughter him, so that he could live and help Santa Claus. That was just awesome. Then he leaves and he's like, Malloy's like, he just left the baby with 2 drunk dudes, just like Dad. Oh my God. That was classic. I have a horrible, absolutely horrible sense of humor, but that was just awesome in my opinion. Funny. Yeah, I mean, you guys can go check the comments, but basically everybody thinks the Borg is magic and that they can magic their way out of everything and that they're gods and that they can't be destroyed ever. Like no, like once you fire on them, they magically instantly always adapt, and they're just, they're always going to win. All right, guys, I guess that is where we're going to end today. It is always a pleasure to do this. I love that so many people are very interested. Come hang out. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We're doing the Geek Breakdown, so we're going to be looking at the fun stuff when it comes to Discovery. Maybe some fun stuff on Orville, which was awesome. Really, and I mean, tomorrow we may not talk about that at all. If everybody wants to talk about Dominion versus Borg, the Geek Breakdown is just when we talk about cool stuff, what we love, not breaking stuff down, just celebrating it. So come hang out. It'll be 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I hopefully will have my mic stuff fixed. And tomorrow also will be the Dominion War looking at the Cardassians, doing that immediately after getting off of here. If you aren't a Patreon, become a patron. I'm making $10 now. What? So decide that. If I get 2 sponsors, I'll actually make emojis that everyone can use. So just, come on, why aren't you guys sponsors? And of course, check me out on twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, watch all of this. Definitely go back and watch this video like 600 times all the way through. And I will see you on the next, wait for it, Lore Reloaded.